Okay, Jesus, what time is it? It's damn 12:45 in the morning. I just finished watching episode 12 of the second season of Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation. I want to tell you, and it was a nice way to end the season. We got the culmination of the main kind of thing that needed to get done in the university arc, which was the culmination of Rudy and Sylphie's relationship, and it was very well done. I think the biggest part of the episode for me was, obviously besides the most obvious part, was we got to see a little bit more of how Sylphie, Luke, and Ariel vibe as like a unit, as a group of friends. The one thing I guess you can say that the anime never really got across is how close they are, and still how shrewd Ariel is as a negotiator. So let's just start from the top. Obviously, we get the kind of like the last aftermath of, last episode where Sylphie reveals that she's Sylphie, and then we go from there. Rudy kind of Rudy still has his ED problem, so he kind of tries to, get a little nookie there in the cave, which by the way is wild. It's wet. There's gonna be mud places you don't need mud to be. I don't know if that's where I would have gone for it, but hey man, live your life. Obviously, Rudy's ED problem's still there. And he has to face it, but then he ends up telling Sylphie. And I guess the one thing you understand is why Sylphie is so important to Rudy. Sylphie, out of, I guess I can say this, out of the people Rudy will interact with in the future, besides maybe Zanoba and maybe a few other people, Sylphie is one of the most loyal people to Rudy. Obviously she pined for him for years, even after he left. You learn that when Rudy was taken, Sylphie legitimately attacked Paul. Legitimately attacked him. And Sylphie was about that life, so she trained just so she can measure up to him. It's like how much, just showing you how much of her life revolved around Rudy. So the fact that she was there and the fact that she understood. Obviously, I've never suffered through ED, but the kind of when I first kind of encountered this thing in the story, I tried to learn about it and how people live with it and the people around them. The biggest thing that I learned is that while somebody's dealing with that kind of problem, your partner, the biggest thing you kind of need from them is patience, and that's what Sylphie is. She's patient, she's understanding, and Sylphie was just there, through it all. Even when, Rudy's getting flashbacks to his time with Sarah or his time with another character that I will mention, Sylphie was just there. So after they kind of square that off, nothing was going to happen in the cave, they walk back to the city. They kind of have this little date thing as they're walking back, as Sylphie's telling Rudy everything that she's been through after the Fator region. And then she makes it back to town, or they make it back to town, and then Sylphie goes to go see Ariel, and she's going to go see Ariel and Luke by proxy to find a way to fix Rudy's problem. And shout out to Luke, especially Luke, technically the MVP of the whole episode, with him coming up with an aphrodisiac that we only saw that one episode back in season 1 when Rudy and Eris and Ghislaine, was it Ghislaine? I think it's Ghislaine. Go out on like a little excursion, and Rudy sees the aphrodisiac, and Rudy was being like fully immature Rudy back then, and he saw it. So we saw it there, and then turns out Luke had one as well. Luke's part of the same family as Rudy, where he straight up says in the episode, "We gray rats, we love women with big titties." So yeah, and he's, first of all, some of the facial expressions from Sylvie in this episode were hilarious, especially when they were all meeting trying to figure out a way to solve Rudy's impotence problem. And Sylvie was taking Sylphie was catching a lot of strays and a lot of bullets. So to see that Luke coming in clutch, saying that he actually bought it, it turns out since that aphrodisiac was made in Fatoa, with Fatoa undergoing the teleportation incident and the methods of people creating that aphrodisiac is lost to time, the aphrodisiac is now very valuable. And actually, in case of emergency, Luke was actually going to use it to get some funds, but he gives it to Sophie, showing how much he really cares for Sylphie. Plus, um, some added advice from Ariel, and Sylphie was good. Like, she set it up, she brought the aphrodisiac, she brought some food, she brought some drink, and she went up to Rudy's room, and the deed happened. In terms of the episode itself, I thought the episode was I don't know if fantastic is the right word, but let's go with it. I thought the episode was fantastic. No. Be rightful in your convictions. I thought the episode was fantastic, getting across what it needed to get off. And the part that I really wanted to focus on was after the deed was done. Obviously, they weren't going to show the deed. They're not going to do that. But showing how awkward it was, before them taking the aphrodisiac and all that. I like that they took their time to kind of get there, because obviously they have the time to, because you're not going to show whatever happened. This isn't like that first DVD where people got a little glimpse into what Zenith and Paul were about before the story kicked off. But after that, when Rudy wakes up in the morning, this is where Eris's kind of influence has been left, that PTSD from Eris. Obviously, we didn't get to see Eris with this first part, right? Which I'm actually surprised we didn't. Maybe we'll get in an OVA. To be honest with you, we shouldn't see Eris at all this season. But I'm surprised, we didn't get to see anything from her at all, especially given the character that we got to see, I believe, when in the Beta Gotti introduction episode. But Rudy kind of has that thing where he kind of sits up and he's like kind of taking it in, what happened last night, the fact that he's technically been cured, so to speak. And he looks outside, he comes back inside, he knows that Sylphie might have guard duty, and then you get this breakdown moment from Rudy where he just remembers, remember the last time Rudy was this intimate or this open with anyone was with Eris. And what happened the next day? She left. So now Rudy's basically going through that same trauma, and then he hears Sylphie, her footsteps walking back to his room, and it's like everything changes for him. It's like this terrible feeling or memory that he has every time he does this has been completely overwritten. And obviously, Sylphie's like, oh yeah, I went to just go tell Luke and Ariel that everything went well, and I wanted to thank them. And then Rudy just hugs her and he breaks down. I guess the one thing I want to say, I don't want you to really underestimate how important this moment was for him. It was so important for him that she was there. That's the best part about Sylphie. It's like she's always there. Whenever he falls down, she's there to support him, unconditionally as well. So she just kind of sits there and she's like, what's going on? Talk to me. Basically just being that patient partner. One of her biggest strengths is her patience. And he just kind of says thank you, and he's like, I'm cured. And he just breaks down again. And what does Sylphie do? She just gives him that nice hug. And she doesn't truly understand what's going on as of yet, but she knows just what to do to comfort him. She just gives him that nice hug, and it's boom, the perfect thing as he kind of lets it all out. It was nice. It was so nice. And then obviously, now that we're done with the ED, and to my best knowledge, nobody in anime has ever used erectile dysfunction this way as a plot device, as a character quality, or what's the right word? I don't know, but it was massively used and tied to some trauma, PTSD, all these things, and it was very well done. And do I have problems with the university arc? Yes, but I still think even if it was done the way I wanted it to be done, I still would have problems. But let's just finish it off. We got the epilogue where it's officially kind of set up, and Rudy and Ariel meet officially, right? And he lets his intentions be known that he wants to marry Sylphie, and it's kind of you get this symbolic passing where Ariel's like, okay, I will give Sylphie over to you now, and you better take care of her. And Sylphie kind of gives up being Fitz, right? And they had this nice shot of Ariel just looking at the glasses with this smile, where she understands that, like, she lost somebody close to her. And when I say lose, it's not like they're not going to be, they're still not going to be hanging around. They're still going to school together and all that. But it's like the end of something for her. And, it's the end of something for her, but it's something good for Sylphie, because even though when they start in the beginning, Ariel was straight up manipulating Sylphie, right? But they grew close. They were like sisters, They were like this, like Luke and Ariel's little sister. This thing where they took care of her, despite the fact that she was the strongest among all of them in terms of power. And it was just nice to kind of see them, and that smile that they both have. And God, having Luke push Sylphie forward to be like, go live your life. We're still here. We'll manage. And it was just very nice. What I'm talking about? It was just nice to see that perfect smile, and then you see them kind of negotiating a little bit, like, and she's like, look, I'll give Sylphie to you, but then in return, I will use your name and your reputation for my own political kind of dealings. And she also gives Rudy kind of permission to do the same, and Rudy's not dumb. He's like, if I ever need it, I might as well use it. So he agrees, and there we go. It's like the official transfer is complete, and we get this beautiful ending toward part 1 of season 2, because part 2 of season 2, I know I mentioned it last week, but the more and more I think about it, I don't think I'm ready. Now, to kind of give you some quick thoughts about the part 1, overall, it was good. It could have been way better, especially when you want to compare it to at least the excellent peaks that season 1 reached. But it was good. I still would put the first 4 episodes of basically volume 7 of the light novel into its own movie, basically Mugen Train it. And there were a lot of the animation quality dipped a little bit more than I would have liked, but in the end we got what we needed to get done across, even with the cut content and all that. But I didn't like, even now I still don't like the fact that the opening is there. Like, it feels like it takes away, now we just have this extra time that we have to deal with, but we're losing out on this extra time in each episode that we could have used to further the story along. But we got everything that we needed. We learned that it was Silent, or Nanahoshi, being isekai, so to speak, that caused the teleportation incident. We met Beta Gotti, Kishirika's husband. Obviously, we got to see Xenober again, the introduction of Julie, Rainy and Personal. We got a lot of great characters in this season, right? But it's going to be in part 2. We're going to meet some characters from last season. It's time to kind of go back to that, including my favorite waifu of the story. We're going to see her again, which I'm excited for. But we even got, don't let me forget, we even got to see Cliff and Elena officially become a couple, and like I said, it's one of the best relationships in the series. So anyway, I'm gonna probably end up doing a big kind of like review with someone. I just have to reach out to a few people, just kind of confirm, but I'm gonna do a big review, and the person who's listening to this, you probably already think, yes, I'm talking to you. You know who you are. So yeah, get ready for a text from me or a message on Facebook or whatever. Is it Facebook or Instagram? Well, either way, just get ready for that. We're gonna have a big Mushoku Tensei talk. So that's been it. Part 1. I don't think we'll see Mushoku Tensei Part 2 for a few months. Maybe at the start of next year is when Mushoku Tensei Part 2 will come back. And obviously, we're gonna get hooked up here. Spy Family's coming back, I think, next week. Goblin Set, which I'm really excited for, is coming back. The Eminence Shadow is coming back. We're getting really hooked up a lot of anime. Obviously, the Shibuya arc in Jujutsu Kaisen is going on right now. There's a lot of really good stuff. I finally should watch the 2nd season of Horimiya for real. But it's a lot of really good anime to tide us over. But that was it. That was my review of episode 12. And it's weird, kind of like, that's the end of Mushoku Tensei for a while. So I mean, if you want to keep going, read the light novel, or you could read the web novel if you want. A lot of people, at least in the Mushoku Tensei community, would not recommend that you read the manga because it's not good, in their opinion. I mean, I read it just because it's more Mushoku Tensei. Why not? But yeah, man, thank you so much for listening and watching and riding with me. Also, this week I'll decide. I'll probably put a poll up on the channel deciding which like anime we should do next, kind of weekly episode reviews. So I'll put it up. Probably I already know the Eminence and Shadow and Spy Family are gonna be a part of that. So yeah, get ready for that. It's gonna be fun. I really like doing these. So especially it's just kind of a way to kind of keep making content while I finish up my big video. So thank you guys for listening and watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye guys.